feminist, but the other day I went to see my personal trainer. That's right. That's right, I can squat and I can lunge. And he was making me do something he called the combat crawl, which was plank from the hands to plank to the elbows, plank from the hands, plank to the elbows, plank to the hands, plank to the elbows. And in my inability to breathe and my desire to live, I looked up at him and said, I think this exercise is for boys. And he looked down and said, you could do anything a boy could do. And I looked up and said, that is factually inaccurate.
I love that. It's like Tuesday is leg day and the Wednesday is intersectional feminist day. I'm a feminist, but when listening to someone speak openly about their trouble with binging, I Googled ice cream nearby because I was inspired. And it really was a low point, and I was like, I really fancy ice cream right now.
I'm a feminist, but I recently got in a taxi with some other guilty feminists when we were touring together. And we called the taxi, and it was on a fixed fee, and they were making him wait because people had, I've left my phone in the dressing room.
Oh, I think I noticed.
I've now got a chat to somebody on the... Someone's come up to say hi, or a mate was in, and this poor man was sitting there with the patience of a saint, and it was in Glasgow. I was like, oh, God, and I kept saying, oh, well, put the meter on. It's a fixed fee. And I was like, no, they'll be here in just a second. And I said, I'll make sure we give you a really good tip. And he said, well, that would be appreciated. So then he drives us, like, it was such a short distance as well. I felt so sorry for the man, like around the corner or something like that. So I did give him a really big tip at the end because I felt like he'd waited the length of time that it took to drive us there. He said, oh, that's very generous. And I said, well, we're feminists. We won't shaft you. And then he said, I'm just going to ask you one thing. When you get out, give that door a big slam like a proper angry woman. And I did, and I loved him for saying that. Loved him. I thought that was really charming.
Yeah.
Looking back, it wasn't, but I don't know that it was meant to be. He was basically saying, oh, you're a feminist, you're an angry woman. But I just really liked the sort of, like, we were having a bonding moment,
Yeah.
And he wanted to say, is like, don't just partly... But then somebody said, I saw him get out. Our tour manager said, I saw him get out. And he was shutting all the doors again. He was polishing things. He was brushing crumbs off the back seat after you got out. Apparently, we wrecked his cab.
Oh, that's feminism.
Yeah.
I'm a feminist, but I watch UFC. And it upsets me more to see the women punch each other in the face than it does the men. Because they're just prettier. I know. Also, what I love about UFC as well is that they get into each other's life stories. And about 4 of the UFC women fighters have been survivors of sexual assault. And I'm a survivor of sexual assault. So I always go for the person that's been sexually assaulted to get them to win. I'm like, you beat that woman up in the face. She hasn't been through what you've been through. It's like a football team, It's like, yay, shared trauma,
Sorry, I'm really confused. What is the UFC?
Oh, it's like Ultimate Fighting Championship. And it's now open up to women, because equality.
Is this an Irish thing?
No, it was at one point, and then do you remember 3 years ago? I was like, go on, and now it's like, oh. So UFC is Ultimate Fighting Championship. It's basically boxing, kicking, whatever. Anything except kicking in the face or the balls. Those are the 2 things you can't do. Anything else, fair game. It's like a chipper fight.
I'm a feminist, but I really want to do that now.
Yeah, it's the best. I'm going to do this one just in case I'm too afraid to say I was sexually assaulted on a podcast. Is that all right?
In the middle of a joke, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
do you know, there's no need to slip that in at that time. Save it for Christmas. when I've had a few drinks, did you know? And they're like, we're trying to enjoy dinner. No, fuck you. I'll say when. I'm a feminist, but when I walked through town with my boyfriend and another male friend last Saturday, I involved myself in several altercations between men and women, right? Not because I thought the two men would fight the lads who were involved in the altercations, but because I knew the men would go for the other men first and I could run away. So I was basically using my partner and his friend as, like, human shields. So I'd be like, you leave her alone. Do you know? It felt great. Oh, it did, yeah. We got a guy arrested and everything, so it was good. Yeah. Because he was causing trouble and then he started jerking off in a doorway. So the police were like, oh yeah, we have to...
I'm a feminist, but I'm never, ever going to not be surprised by what Alison Spittle says next. Live from the Women's Work Festival in Belfast, the Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Alison Spittle, a very special guest, Emma Dabiri, talking about Audacity. I have an assistant tonight. She is a burgeoning stand-up comedian from Northern Ireland, and she's only 17 years of age. I know. And she's already been to the Edinburgh Festival, flying the Northern Irish comedy flag. And somebody gave us these amazing feminist cupcakes. Just to give us a cheer if you sent these back. Oh, thank you so much. We noticed that our audience are feeders. And what they normally send back is something like a vegan, gluten-free brownie, because they make assumptions correctly. And feminist food, there's always vegans and gluten-frees in the dressing room, they are correct. But sometimes you can taste the gluten-free. Now these seem to be full of everything, because they're delicious. These have made no compensations to anybody. But on the top, there's pictures of feminists, and on the back, quotes. So we can't eat all of these, because we ate all of the ones on the tour, and we have to stop at some point. I've had two. I've had myself and Tina Fey. And it's a very intersectional box. So I look at myself and I question it. I go, why did you have yourself and Tina Fey? But they just were the closest and looked delicious. Kate, would you be my glamorous assistant? I'm a feminist, but I think I've just said to a young woman who's a stand-up comedian in Belfast, would you be my glamorous assistant? I was being right, I was being tongue-in-cheek. What I mean is my feminist power sister. Thank you. Okay.
No, I'm definitely glamorous.
I'm so sorry, my glamorous feminist power sister. Okay, so this is Kate Talbot. She's a Northern Irish comedian. You're going to be seeing a lot more of her over this years. So, Kate, it's now your job to read out a feminist cupcake slogan, and whoever guesses it wins it.
For people...
Yes, hide it. This is poker. This is basically poker.
I'm funny, I'm not smart.
It's not true, but it's a great line.
For people who are not people of colour or LGBT, it is being an ally and advocate in spaces that people of colour or LGBT people can't really get into.
Okay, who said that? Donald Trump.
Wow.
God, I wish.
Can you imagine if there was just like, Chimamanda, Michelle Obama, Mary Wollstonecraft and Donald Trump in the wild card in the feminist cupcake bingo.
He gets so confused, he might just say it someday.
He does, actually. I'll tell you what, the way to do it would be to get Obama to say the opposite. And then he'd be like, Does anyone know who that is? Does anyone want to have a go? Is it? I don't know who that is.
Neither do I.
Show the originators. Jessica Williams. I know very well who Jessica Williams is. She's one of Two Dope Queens. She used to be on The Daily Show. I know her very well. So nobody won that, not even the people who made the cupcakes. Did you know who said it? Yeah, you didn't. Josie knows. Josie, get one of your own cupcakes.
Woo!
Okay. Is it all right for you to read this one?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, super.
Tell him I was too fucking busy, or vice versa.
Tell him I was too fucking busy, or vice versa. It is not Bette Midler. Who is it? Dorothy Parker. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, she's up there. Excellent. And we'll do one more. Writing in a foreign language has brought me to the cries of the women silently rebelling in my youth to my own true origins. It's beautiful, but who said it? Who is it? Who? She's an Algerian activist I've never heard of because I'm a bad feminist. Did anyone get that right?
Ian Paisley Jr.?
Okay. Does anyone feel they deserve a cupcake for feminist reasons? Loads of people.
Give away, be like Oprah. Everyone gets a cupcake. Come on.
Kate, have you had one? I have not. Kate should have one because she's been doing all the running.
Kate, now, come on, hurry up.
Funny, not fast.
Two what? There are two mums there.
Oh, yeah. They brought
sorry?
up Granya's two mums.
Granya's two mums?
Yeah.
Definitely. Do you know what? Weirdly, there are two cupcakes left. And Grania has two mums. I think we've all done some feminist maths. That was feminist cupcake bingo. Okay, are we ready for our Audacity episode?
I'm ready.
Okay, so that was part of the Audacity episode because cupcake bingo requires audacity. Firstly, you've got to be audacious enough to make cupcakes and, go out, get your pictures of your feminists, get the quotes, put them on the back, send them backstage, and hope the comedians come out and do something with that.
Yeah, and you got to be audacious enough to eat it. I mean, you don't know those people. Yeah, I'm sure they're great,
Are you suggesting there's rohypnol and there's cupcakes or something?
I wasn't going to... Maybe raisins. I don't
I mean, these are not the kind of women to hide raisins in cupcakes. They're not monsters. They're generous, generous women.
Hello, Guilty Feminists. It's Jessica Regan here. I'm delighted to announce some more autumn dates for our Guilty Feminist Big Speeches workshops happening at the Rose and Crown Theatre in Walthamstow. So these workshops are taking place on Sundays, Sunday the 22nd of September, the 29th of September, and October 6th and October 13th. So they're all happening at the Rose and Crown Theatre pub in Walthamstow. And if you want to come and find your voice and take your space, please get on the website, guiltyfeminist.com/big speeches to book your place. Our first workshop is nearly sold out, so do get on it to avoid disappointment. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Please welcome to the stage, Alison Spittle!
Hello. Hello. Jesus. It's because I dropped the sexual assault bomb now. You're going to have to laugh at everything or it'll trigger me. So... Sorry. So... sure. Audacity. So, I've moved to London from Dublin and I got robbed 8 times when I lived in Dublin. I got flashed as well. Has anyone ever got flashed before? So, I've had 2 different incidents where a fella had a knife in my house and a fella who had a crowbar in my house. Both were less scary than some fucker at the side of the road with his Mickey out, you know? Like, you see that shit, you're like, watch where you're pointing that thing, you know? What happened was I was cycling and I heard this, oh, hello? oh, hello. And I was like, Alison, don't look up. Don't look up, it's definitely a fella that's fucking flash you, right? It's definitely. And then another part of my head was like, but maybe, like, it's an eccentric rich man who's going to give you money. Look at him, Alison. Show him your eyes. Maybe he'll give you the money, right? So, take a chance. So I looked up anyway, and lo and behold, there was a lad, and he was waving. He was waving in a really weird way. He was waving at basically exposed genitalia, right? I'd scared the shit out of me. I cycled home very quick, and I got home and I got on to my flatmates, and they were like, Jesus, Alison, what's wrong? I was like, some dirty bastard's after showing me his Mickey, right? And they were like, oh, no, come in. So they brought me in and they made me a cup of tea, and I calmed down significantly. Because, lads, if someone makes you a cup of tea and you don't calm down, you're fucked. Like, yeah. There's something really wrong. So got home anyway, and was sitting there, and they called the police, the guards, and what was amazing was, like, when I've been robbed before, the guards have a different attitude, the police have a different attitude. But when I got flashed, they came into the front door and they kicked in the front. Well, they didn't kick it in. Now, in fairness, someone's been flashed. Let's kick in her door. It's the only way to help. You know? You give her 2 shocks. It's like the hiccups. You know? She'll get over it. She'll be grand. So got in anyway, and I could hear the police come up the hallway, and like, these are Irish police, and these are 2 hunks of Mayo ham, like, just in high-vis vests, coming in the hallway, and they go, don't worry about it at all. He wouldn't have touched you at all. He's what's known as a voyeur, right? And I just love an Irish man trying to sound French, do you know what I mean? Especially when it's about something traumatic. So they came in anyway, and they were like, they were taking down details, and they were like, so they, first of all, they were like, the offending object, was it circumcised, was it not, right? And I basically had to admit to a guard that I'd never seen a penis that wasn't in the dark. Right? Because I'm Catholic, you know, you got standards. So I basically admitted to the guard that I was a frigid, right? And like, he was writing into her notebook, not the frigids. They've after attacking our very own, do you know? Our most vulnerable, do you know? So I couldn't give him a good description with that. So then they said, what was he wearing? And I was like, well, because I was trying to be overly descriptive then. I was like, well, he was dressed like a member of the Backstreet Boys from the late 90s, right? And the guard wrote that down. The policeman wrote that down. What an amazing man. And I think, like, I just love to think of him later on the police radio going, all right, lads, Nick Carter has struck again, you guys. He's insatiable. Backstreet's back, all right. So, yeah. So since moving to London, I feel unsafe. I do, because it's just a new city, you know, and I have to kind of get used to it and get my bearings. But what I do, and I don't know if you do this, ladies. Hey, ladies, do you ever, like, put keys between your fingers before you leave the house? Oh, I love it. I call it tooling myself up. I'm like, you pick the keys as well to do the most damage. You're like, which one shall go to the ball today? You pick the sharpest one for this knuckle, right? And then you put, like, the most bluntest, biggest one on the little finger, you know, just in case. And but what I find is, since moving to London, I got an electrical fob key. So I got one of those little flat plastic keys to open up gates. And it just hangs from my hand like a bollocks, you know, just useless, getting in the way, that type of thing. And, like, you know, I'm walking around like an artisanal Wolverine, right? Ready for anything, right? But this fob has put me off. I'm like, how do I make use of this fob in self-defense? And I was like, well, maybe, hopefully now, the fella who attacks me, he might have a heart condition or something like that, you know? Maybe a pacemaker. And you could just shove the fob up to his chest and go, you shouldn't be doing crimes in your condition. And then running away. It would be amazing. I've had a great time. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a lovely night.
Alison Spittle, everybody! Hello, Guilty Feminists. It's me, just briefly interrupting your podcast listening to let you know about something very, very exciting. On Thursday, 12th of September, this Thursday, at the London Podcast Festival, I am doing a show called Guilty Feminist House on Fire with Lemn Sissay. He's an incredible poet who has a book out now that is the number 1 on the Sunday Times bestseller list, and it has had 5-star reviews. He and I are doing this show where we're getting to know each other live on stage, in conversation, in poetry, in comedy, in joy, in fury. It's at King's Place at 7 p.m. and it's just gone on sale, so you can still get tickets. It's kingsplace.co.uk. Get in and get them now. I'm so excited about this show. On Saturday, the 14th of September, the Guilty Feminist will be at the Proms. This is a regular Guilty Feminist show with me and Jade Adams, guests mezzo-soprano Jamie Barton and composer Erin Wallen. It's 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon at Beit Hall, spelled B-E-I-T, near the Royal Albert Hall. It's the last afternoon of the last night of the Proms. Do not miss it. There are not many tickets for this left. Go to guiltyfeminist.com for tickets. On Sunday, the 15th of September, I am doing a storytelling night called One Track Minds at Wilton's Music Hall. It's a fundraising event. It starts at 5 p.m. and it's me, David Suchet, Katie Melua and more. Go to wiltons.org.uk for tickets. And this week, I'm going to see Stiletto Beach, played by the amazing Sadie Hassler, who came on the podcast recently. She talked about this show and now it's a reality. She's genuinely one of the greatest playwrights I know. And this play upends the stereotype of the Essex girl. It's at Queen's Theatre Hornchurch till 28th of September. I'm going this Wednesday. If you'd like to go any night, go to queens-theatre.co.uk for tickets. And for those in New York, I want to tell you that Millie Thomas's amazing play Dust that I told you about just got the New York Times Critics' Pick. So get tickets while you can. New York Theatre Workshop. I'll be going when I'm in New York later this month. Wednesday, the 6th of November, I am at the Dublin Podcast Festival with the Guilty Feminist. It's 8:30 p.m. at Vicar Street. Honestly, my favourite venue. Go to ticketmaster.ie for tickets or find it on the Guilty Feminist website. Can't wait to come back to Dublin. See you there, gang. You are their best audience. Now back to the podcast. Two audacious women came up to me tonight, and I wish to reward audacity in feminists, if it's the right kind of audacity, which it was. Gender Chores are a punk feminist band. Does anyone know them? Okay, if you don't know them, you can see them tonight at Women's Word Showcase at the Oh Yeah Centre after this gig. So if this gig has got you all worked up and you feel like you need to jump up and down some, Gender Chores, go out of here and jump up and down to feminist punk. But the other person is somebody who came up and told me about an issue that's really important to her, and she just said, how can I get this message out there? And I said, you can get it out with audacity. You've come up to talk to me. Come up onto the stage and tell everyone. So Sarah Rose, where are you? Big round of applause for Sarah Rose. So come up to the front. Yeah, come up to the front, because we've only got 2 minutes because we need to get our guest on. So Sarah Rose, can you give us your 2-minute TED Talk on what you want to talk about?
Okay, so hi, I'm Sarah Rose. I have an Instagram called My Pelvic Pain. So I've been suffering from pelvic pain for 10 years now in Belfast, growing up with this. There's not a lot of information, there's not a lot of help out there. It took me 9 years to get someone to believe that I was actually in pelvic pain. So last year I was diagnosed with a condition called pelvic floor dysfunction, which a lot of people don't know, they're not aware of it. There's not a lot of help out there, and I'm currently investigating endometriosis, which infects 1 in 10 women. So that's 10% of women. Currently in Northern Ireland, we don't actually have any endometriosis clinics, don't have any specialists. And also
You don't have any endometriosis clinics in the whole of Northern Ireland?
or in the Republic.
Yeah, we're shit too.
So we have gynecologists that have an interest, but they're not actually accredited.
Oh, they have an interest. Oh, well, that's nice.
No,
Yeah.
literally. Here, that's what they said to me.
Endometriosis, fishing.
That's
you
what
know,
they-
I like to watch Game of Thrones. What? An
No,
interest?
that's what they said, because I was like, but you're not accredited. They're like, we've got an interest. But yeah,
Okay. So what can we do to help?
what we're trying to do is kind of raise awareness of this, and myself, I'm talking about my journey. So to get treatment is quite long. If you want to get an NHS trust transfer to England, it can take up to a year because there's 5 steps to get there. So you have to get a referral from your GP. You go to the first legal tribunal to get funding. You go to the second legal tribunal to get funding. You then, if you pass all those steps, have to go and see if there's a consultant in England who will then treat you. You then go on their waiting list, and then you go on the standard waiting list that's in England.
So you have an Instagram called
My Pelvic Pain.
My Pelvic Pain.
Yeah.
Everybody follow.
Yeah.
And if you can put instructions there as to how we can help.
Yeah, so currently I'm going private, unfortunately. Like, I'm just getting all the debt on my credit card because it's been 10 years, can't hack it anymore. I need to go see a specialist and try and get my insides sorted out. If we don't have the right to choose over our bodies, how are we going to have the right to choose over our women's health? It all feeds in the same basis.
Yep.
It's all together. You know, it wasn't until I was engaged and about to get married that people started caring about my pelvic pain. Up until then, it was like, oh, wait, hang on, you've had sex, that's why you're in pain. It was the whole thing. It was until, oh, you're getting married, oh, you're going to have a baby, oh, you're going to have to give your husband a wedding night, we'll sort you out. And it's the whole cycle. And it's not just me in Belfast, it's the whole of Ireland. We're all suffering in this, and we deserve better.
Big round of applause for Sarah Rose. Follow My Pelvic Pain on Instagram. Okay. Our guest today is the author of the book, Don't Touch My Hair. This book is becoming an absolute phenomenon. The author is absolutely incredible. Please welcome to the stage, Emma Dabiri. Come take a seat.
How are you, Belfast?
So, Emma, you're over here at the Belfast Literary Festival,
I am.
and you've been talking about your book, signing copies of it.
Yes.
Can you please tell us about it?
The book is called Don't Touch My Hair, so I guess the title is pretty explanatory. But for those of you who don't know, like, what I'm referencing, it's the phenomenon whereby black women and men as well, particularly those of us who've grown up in or been in quite white environments, experience the unsolicited and unauthorized touching of our hair pretty much constantly. So the title is in reference to that. But the book is about a lot more than that. It's like a history and kind of social commentary on black hair. But it talks about a lot of things, but uses hair as the kind of jumping off point to cover a whole host of topics.
Yeah, because in the book you say that like black hair is a political issue. Sorry, I've listened to it, so I don't know how to ask a question. In like, you said a really good thing about this. I'd be shit in a chat show, basically.
You wouldn't, Alison. Don't say that. Your first guest would be Jesus. Your second guest would be Mr. Tato.
And then it would turn into a porno. There'd be no...
Can I just say about Mr. Tato?
Please.
Please.
I actually find the way he has features up here like really obscene. Like, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I came off the plane today and I just, like in George Best Airport, I just seen like Mr. Potato, like, not Mr. Tato.
Mr. Tato.
I know,
Call him by his name. Mr. Potato is his father's name.
It's a bit like Nasty
Filthy McNasty.
Nasty.
My husband was called Nasty McQuaid, so there's quite a significance. But he's not called that anymore. He's been given a new name, but his name for a long time was Nasty McQuaid. So I was really relating to that.
What do you mean he was given a new
Kinder
name?
McQuaid. What's he...
Because he's a DJ and his DJ name was Nasty McQuaid, but he was given that because of, well, his surname being McQuaid and his behaviour.
See, that's meant to tip women off, but you just looked past it and married him.
Do you know how we met? Like, it's so unfeminist.
Oh, no, tell us.
So I went to see a band and he was the DJ, like, that was playing kind of between the bands. And we were outside on the street afterwards. he was behind me. Somebody came up to me and they were like, "Oh, where are you from?" or "What's your mix?" or something. And I was like,
What's your mix?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a real don't touch my hair.
These things happen regularly.
Wow.
So I indulged them. I told them my mix. I was like, I'm Irish and Nigerian. And I just heard someone behind me being like, "You're fucked then." That's a shit mix.
What?
I was just like, "Excuse me?" But it really caught my attention because usually people are like, "Oh, that's so fascinating. That's so exotic." But I was like, "Oh, this is new." This is new.
Shit Mix sounds like the death metal tribute band to Little Mix, don't they? Just a touch of your love is enough to kill me.
I don't know how I got there.
I don't care.
So that's how you met your husband, and presumably he turned it around after that because it was provocative. It was sort of that's an example of audacity, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
He wasn't saying it was a shit mix. He was saying he was basically making a joke about oppression and
Did
marginalisation.
Did he back up his claims of how it was shit though? Did he what was the I'm more interested in the second line of how he saved it.
Do you know what? It's all kind of blurry now because this is like a very, very long time ago. I just remember that opening gambit and that.
I think he was saying there's intersections of marginalisation.
Yeah,
that's what he was saying.
And also,
it's a very feminist thing to say.
Exactly. He would totally agree.
I mean, it depends how hot he is, how feminist that is.
He looks like Mr. Tato.
How feminist I can. How feminist I can justify that is. Yeah, is he hotter than Mr. Tato or
on a good day? Yeah.
But you find Mr. Tato quite obscene.
Yeah, so I really don't like him with the features. So I came off the plane and saw him everywhere, and I was just like, "Oh, it's like Mr. Tato, but not as I know him."
No.
And I just couldn't place what was so wrong about him. I was just like, "Oh, that's really off key." Yeah. And then when you were describing the chiseled jaw and the feet, I was like, "That's what it is. He's got loads of features. I'm not used to that. I'm just used to kind of a."
He's so wrong.
You're used to the Republic of Ireland, Mr. Tato, who's much more nebulous. He's
just a crisp in a jacket, I think.
But would you rather fuck a crisp in a jacket or a potato with
a strong jaw?
Yeah, it's like
I'd rather fuck a potato with a strong jawline.
Yeah, a crisp.
I'm going to go crisp in a jacket.
Well, listen, we can go out drinking together because we're never going to go after the same guys. I mean, I'll be like, crisp in a jacket, 12 o'clock. You'll be like, potato with a jaw, 4 p.m. And I'll be like, boom, see you back here later, sister.
After I have the baby, you're on. Let's do it,
Yeah. To be fair, you're probably not going out looking to pick up many crisp-based men at the moment. You're pregnant, you've got a book out, you're busy.
But come October.
It's crisp time.
It's crisper time. This is not relevant to your book. Now
it's not. I'm sorry, I didn't really
tell me.
anything.
No.
It's quite a relief to not be talking about.
I bet, absolutely. So the book is about political.
Can you do another book called "Don't Touch My Crisps"?
Or back off my Tato man.
Yeah, there you go. But I think that'd be too contentious. Like that. Yeah.
Back off my Tato. Do people really just go up and touch your hair? Without your permission?
Yeah, to be honest, when it's like this, not so much. It mostly happens to me when it's in its natural state, which is just a very big afro.
And just because it's a podcast, when you say when it's like this, could you just describe it?
Oh, yeah. So these are boho braids, they're called. It's a type of attachment called crochet braiding. So what's going on is my own hair is cornrowed underneath. And then these are extensions which are stitched on to the cornrows.
It's extremely cool, and I'm definitely not going to ask to touch it, just to be very, very clear. It wouldn't occur to me, though, but I do have friends who say that people will just touch it without asking.
Yeah.
In a club, they'll just grab it. They'll just go, "Oh, look, your hair," and they don't know them at all.
Yeah, or they'll ask, but they're not waiting for your answer, because I'm in the process of saying no, and the hand is...
It's like when someone asks for, "Can I take one of your chips?" but their hand is already in the chip.
Or your crisps, even.
Yeah, your crisps.
Your Mr. Tatoes, yeah. That is a piece of audacity that isn't okay, because it's about your own bodily autonomy. Mm-hmm. It's similar to what Sarah Rose was talking about around your own bodily autonomy. We have a big issue in Northern Ireland with abortion being illegal, and in other parts of the world, including America, there's moves to take that bodily autonomy away from women. If we're not in charge of what goes on inside of us, how do we have any other human rights? And it's a similar issue, really. Somebody coming up and thinking, I own your hair enough, even though I don't know you, I own your hair enough to touch it. And it's part of women feeling like public property, which then there is an extra intersection for women of colour.
Yeah, absolutely. And people have compared it to me. They're like, oh, well, that's kind of like, when you're pregnant and people touch your belly, which is, again, an invasion of your autonomy and, like, your bodily autonomy. But that's not racialized in the same way, so it's different. Like, the thing with the hair is emerging from a history, like, not that distant a history, and a history that we very much live with the consequences of the legacy of, where white people owned black people, so we're entirely entitled to ownership and control of our bodies. So I think it's actually a legacy of that kind of entitlement, because it never happens in the reverse. I've actually conducted, not a very scientific experiment, but an experiment of sorts, where I've just accosted white women on the street and just been like, oh my God, is that your real hair? That's mad. Like, the way, I won't say what I would have said because it's kind of borderline offensive, but it's the equivalent of what people say to me. And the shock and the horror and the surprise, like, they're terrified. I don't usually get very far because they're just terrified. And a lot of, like, women do it to me and men do it to me as well. And when if I do it to white women, the shock and the terror, if I was a black man doing it to white women, I don't think he'd get very far. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, so
he might get arrested or something.
Exactly.
But white men do that to you? They come up and they just go, oh, wow, is your hair real? And they start touching
It's not even like, oh, wow. Certainly when I was growing up, it was way more like, what the fuck is that? Like, how did
you grew up in Ireland.
I grew up in Dublin, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like predominantly
so people
white.
would just be like, oh my God, look at her hair. And then they'd come over and they'd be like, Jesus, the state of that. So they wouldn't even be talking to me. They'd just be like having
talking about you?
Yeah.
Over the top of your hair to each other?
Yeah. So as I've grown and become older, it's become more polite because they'll actually engage me. But when I was younger, it was just about me often.
Wow.
So
do you find you're a double target now that you're pregnant? Because it could be sort of like a hair belly double.
So you would think, but funnily enough, it's never happened to me. Not with this pregnancy or with my son either. So for some reason, people are like quite hands off when it comes to me being pregnant. But when it's my hair, it's like open season.
Wow,
So,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
What's the reactions been? Like, how do you react now when someone tries to touch your hair? And how does the person react to you reacting to them touching your hair?
Recently, I was in a Vietnamese restaurant and it wasn't an afro, it was just my hair in braids. When my hair is in braids, I actually personally feel less triggered, for want of a better word, by it. Because when it's just my hair texture, and people are responding in this way, like, what the fuck is this? Like, how did you get your hair like that? How does anybody's hair look like that? That's not a style. That's just like the way my hair grows. And the fact that that causes so much kind of fascination and shock and just surprise, like, just really, that really makes me feel like a spectacle or like something that's on show or on display. But when it's actually because I have like an intricate or ornate hairstyle, that changes it. And I'm like, okay, maybe the person is just interested in like the styling technique. But anyway, I had a braided style and this Vietnamese woman was like, oh, your hair is really beautiful. And then she touched it. I think she asked me. But for some reason, it didn't really bother me. The energy was just such that in that moment, it didn't bother me. Yeah. And we actually ended up having a really nice conversation in that instance. I was thinking maybe because the history isn't so loaded between me and her, I don't know, but also the intention seemed different. But then equally, I could just be like, no. It really depends. I had one instance quite recently where a kind of middle-aged white woman was just like, oh my God, is that your real hair? Can I touch it? I was saying no, and she already had like a handful of it. And I was like, sorry, did you not hear me or do you not understand? And she was just like, what do you mean? And I said, you can't touch it. Can you please like remove your hand from my body? And she was just like, you're an incredibly rude individual. And I was just like, fuck off. Like, you've come up to me.
Yeah. If you ask, you have to be prepared for no. Even if that's embarrassing for you, don't ask if you can't hear no. And don't touch without asking. Those are the basics.
But it's also kind of weird to ask or to even want to.
Oh, it's very weird to ask, but I'm trying to get into her head.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never ask, and I think it's weird to ask. But in anything in life, don't ask unless you're prepared to hear no.
Yeah.
You can't ask, and then the person says no, and then you go, you are so rude.
How dare
it's like,
you?
well, clearly the question was rhetorical.
Yeah, exactly.
You felt you had an entitlement, and so that's where the audacity sits. I have an entitlement to touch you.
If you think as recently as 1917, I think the year was, there was a black African man in a zoo in New York.
Yeah.
So it's really like in the last 100 years that black people were on display as animals often, or as wildlife. So there's a very recent history of that kind of spectacle of black features and the black body. So it's all very loaded.
And like, what relationship do you have with your hair throughout your life? Being an ex-Catholic, I have a weird relationship with sex. And like, sometimes I love it, and sometimes I'm like, that wouldn't be for me now. That type of thing. So, and it's
I've got all that going on.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. But you're a product of, like, you know, your environment that you've grown up in, and what's your journey been like for you with your hair?
Yeah, so as a young child, like, I just hated it, and I couldn't understand why I had it, because there was nobody around me that had the same type of hair, not even like in my own family. And there were very few black people like in Ireland in that time. So in my immediate kind of world, there was nobody with hair like mine. And even in terms of representation, I wouldn't have seen anybody with the type of hair texture that I had. And it caused like so much, as I've described, like people just being like, what the fuck's wrong with her? I just hated it and just thought it was like something that was wrong with me, like a disfigurement almost. I just like desperately wanted to have kind of limp, mousy brown hair. Like I would have literally killed for that. So yeah, I just wanted to like, you know, look normal. And especially like for little girls, like straight, thick blonde hair.
Like Rapunzel.
Yeah, was like the holy grail. But I would have just settled for like mousy brown. All little girls that just had really long hair and did all this stuff with their hair that I was just like totally excluded from. I had just like a really short afro.
I had and in no way to equate, it doesn't stack up in any way, but I had a school teacher in Australia. We were all meant to be allowed to audition for the school dancing competition, and we all went to like ballet or jazz ballet after school, so we were all excited. And I didn't have any friends, so I was really, really excited. My only friend at this point was God.
He's a good pal to have in your corner.
I'd moved to a new school, and I went to Sunday school, and they said, God is your friend, and that was literally true at that point, because I didn't have any other friends. So I was thinking, if I get picked for the school dancing competition, I'll be in a girl band. It's going to be easy. I'm going to be cool. I've got friends. And the day that we were meant to be allowed to audition, Miss Power, her name, Dickensian, stood up, real name, Nasty McPower she was called. She wasn't. She stood up and went, Rod, all the blonde girls stand up. And then all the blonde girls were put up against a wall, and she went down picking the ones that she thought were the prettiest. And she went, you three, and Janine Henney. And Janine Henney had brown hair, but she was an awesome dancer. She had trophies. And it was at that point I realised if you were brunette, you needed a talent. It wasn't going to be enough. Like, I was never in Australia going to get by on hair colour alone. But it really made me work on my skills, because I went, well, if I'd just been born blonde, but I used to think, how old do I have to be before I'm allowed to dye my hair? It does mean a lot.
No, I said bad things are happening at 10.
Oh, yeah.
10:05.
Oh, okay.
shit.
All right. Thank you to everybody at the Limelight in Belfast. Everybody who's come out, everyone who said anything, Sarah Rose, Kate Talbot with Cake Bingo, and my amazing co-pilot, Alison Spittle. Everyone go and buy Don't Touch My Hair. It's a brilliant book. Or get the audiobook if you prefer podcasts.
The audiobook's brilliant.
It's a really important thing to listen to or to read. So get your copy. Ideally get it in a hardback and in the audiobook. I know that because I have a book and my publisher doesn't like me saying... I mean, no, nothing. You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Alison Spittle, and our very special guest, Emma Dabiri. The recording engineer was Chris Morrow. Music was by Mark Hodge, and the producer was Tom Salinsky for The Spontaneity Shop. Thanks to Luke at Phil McIntyre Entertainment and everyone at the Limelight, as well as all of you for listening. More information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com. Thank you so much, Belfast. You've been absolutely amazing. We will definitely be back. You're absolutely incredible. You've been a really wonderful audience. Thank you so much. Apparently we've got to clear out of here because there's a club. So either come back into the Limelight Go and see the amazing punk band Gender Chores at the OUS Centre, or we'll see you at Filthy McNasty's. Thank you very much. She said it was the same thing. Yeah.
But she had a pelvic.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
But she referenced now for NI. Yeah.
Cool. Jesus, I can't keep up now.
No. But
All
like
these
Sarah
hashtags.
Rose,
How about just hashtag leave us the fuck alone to govern ourselves? You know? Sorry.
Don't start the troubles again, please. Okay. Literally just come here for one night and you were going to start the troubles. And it's so many things you've said.
I don't know how to respond to this in a way that will
not start the troubles.
Not start the troubles.
Sure.
We didn't start the troubles.
No. Billy Joel is not the answer right now. I've said that to you before, Alison, today. It's not the first time I've said that to her today. She thinks Billy Joel is the answer to everything.
Hello, all you lovely guilty feminists. This is Sindhu V, and I wanted to tell you that as of today, the 5th of September, I am going back on tour with my show Sandhog. It is starting at the Bloomsbury Theatre today, but there are no tickets for that, so why am I even telling you? However, after this, I will be in Cambridge, that's tomorrow, then Nottingham, then Bristol, then Liverpool, then Maidenhead, then Salisbury, then Exeter, Brighton, Redditch, Oxford, Watford, Southend, Colchester, Hayes, Hexham, Edinburgh, Newcastle, Glasgow, maybe Kirkcaldy. Let's see, buy some tickets, then I'll come there. Otherwise, then back in Aberdeen, and then Bury St Edmunds, Canterbury, Leeds, Harrogate, North Allerton, Southport, Chipping Norton, and then Leicester, and then Birmingham. And then maybe Crewe, buy some tickets in Crewe, people, so I can come there. And then I'm going to come to Camberley, Swansea, Bath, Cheltenham, Potters Bar, North Finchley, Taunton, the Lowry in Salford, and that's it. So all of those dates, it ends sort of end of November. Please buy a ticket to come see me if you're in one of those towns, or if you're near one of those towns. If you know people who you like, or even people you don't like, frankly, tell them to buy a ticket. The show is about love. It's about the love we have for our parents, for our kids, for our partners, and how difficult it really is to love anyone consistently for a long time, because it's demanding love. Anyway, so do buy a ticket. Please come. Love to see you there. Also, if there's a general election, make sure you get out and vote. That's important. What else do I want to tell you? That's about it. Just come to my show, make sure you vote, and most of all, be well and be good to one another. Bye.